Whenever you are having an outcome, the outcome is a byproduct of some kind of alignment through that flow funnel. So you've got an identity, you've got programs, you've got mental ideas about who and what you are, agreements that you hold about the way the world works that lead into an emotional state, that lead to a way of thinking, a way of acting, and then to a result, a purely raw sense. If we want to go deeper into the spiritual side of things, there's more to it. But just to make sure everyone is included, if we just talk at a purely rudimentary level, your habits lead to your outcomes. That comes from your thinking, that comes from your emotions, that's coming from your identity and everything behind it.
You're listening to the Move to Millions podcast with Dr. Darnyelle J. Harmon. If you're ready for high-level conversations that position and prepare you to move your company, cash flow, and connection to and beyond the $1 million mark, let's get this party started. This Rewind episode is powered by Move to Millions Live, and specifically our $1 million intensives. First up, on December the 28th, we have the mindset of a $10 million CEO. If you desire to make the move to millions, you need an infrastructure that is 10x your goal. Join me by getting your ticket for Move to Millions Live, which is happening May 22nd through the 24th of 2024, so that I can treat you to 5 bonus intensives designed to help you to create an additional $100,000 before we meet in May. Get your ticket today so you can join me on December the 28th at movetomillionsevent.com. As I already stated, this is a rewind episode. A rewind episode is an episode that has already run on the podcast, but it was so good that I need you to hear it again, especially as we prepare for 2024. Listen, I don't know what you have already realized that 2024 is going to be, but I'm here to let you know that 2024 is the year that you ascend, that you be and embody the $1 million CEO who, with grace and ease, calls in your $1 million company without having to hustle and grind, without having to act thirsty or desperate, but instead is completely in alignment and embodying the version of yourself that can generate $1 million a year through serving your clients at the highest of levels and doing it in a way that honors and supports all that you are. This episode that I'm rewinding for you is with an amazing human that I had the opportunity to meet because we were in a program together. Listen, Dan Mangena will change your life. That's why I want you to listen to this episode again. When it originally ran, we called it Commitment to Millions. I know that your spine is going to tingle. I know that your body is going to reverberate at the next level as you listen into the juicy gems and nuggets that Dan shares so that you can truly get into alignment and embodiment to commit to being the version of yourself that easily and effortlessly and consistently calls in your millions. I don't know about you, but I am sick and tired of the statistics. I want to see more businesses making millions without compromising who they are in the process. This podcast, this mission, this mantle, this movement, the book, the event, it is all designed to help you make the move to millions with grace and ease instead of hustle and grind. I want you to do yourself a favor to grab your Move to Millions podcast notebook and your favorite pen and your favorite warm or cold beverage. And let's jump into the rewind of my conversation with Dan Mangena, Commitment to Millions. Dan the man, welcome to the Move to Millions podcast. How are you today?
I am good. It's nighttime for me now, but I had a lovely Valentine's Day retail therapy thing.
Okay.
I've got a few little bits I'm kind of happy about.
Okay.
Which we can probably talk about actually, because there's some stuff around that. And just enjoying this conversation with you. Then I'm going to get into my pajamas and probably have a cup of tea is what I'm going to do.
Nice. I love it. I'm so glad that you were here. So take just a quick moment and tell everybody who you are in your own words.
Okay, I'm Darnyelle Mangena, East London-born entrepreneur, kind of on a mission to move to full-time philanthropy over the next 3 to 5 years. That's what I'm really, really passionate about. And so, I just get to serve through podcasting, through books. I write for Entrepreneur magazine, and also recently making documentary films has been another way I've been serving too.
Nice. So full-time philanthropy. I don't know if you
Yeah.
know this about me, but when I was 10 and I found my purpose, which is to use words to change the lives of other people, I said one of the things I wanted to be was a philanthropist.
Get out
So
of
the
here.
fact that you are like right now saying I want to move to full-time philanthropy in the next couple of years, that is blowing my mind. Like, how does one get to the point where the possibility of being a full-time philanthropist becomes a reality for them? Walk us through that journey.
Well, I think one of the things, as you know, one of our key programs that we've been delivering for a little while now, for about half a decade, is something called Financial Freedom in a Box, where we supported people getting to a point of financial freedom. And one of the things that we always ensure that we impress upon people is, if you're going for financial freedom, know what you want to do with your time and energy afterwards. And what we've seen time and time again is that having the resources to actually be able to live life on your own terms, doing what you want with your time, isn't generally as much as people think that it needs to be. And so, like, full-time philanthropist, it sounds very fancy, but it could just be that I volunteer with my time full-time. And that just means that my day-to-day needs need to be met. Now, I have been involved quite heavily in doing some entrepreneurial philanthropy type projects, which we can break down in a second. We've been doing that in the grassroots. We're looking to spread some of those projects globally now. Really blessed to get access to some amazing mentors, and I'm increasing that circle of influence around mentorship in the philanthropy space also. I've got a philanthropy incubator that I want to get rolling this year. And my family have a small foundation, a relatively small foundation that we've been doing grassroots projects with, mainly in Southern Africa, where my family's from, but also in the UK and also in underserved communities in the developed world as well. But ultimately, anyone who has a dream of like something like full-time philanthropy, it's all you need is get your needs met so that you've got enough time and energy to give of your time to others. If you have resources to give as well, cool. But it could even be that you marshal other people who've got resources to go and serve and help others too. But just make sure that you're in a solid spot to have your needs covered. And that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah, I love that. Like, one of the things that I started doing as a company when we started making quote unquote good money is I started carving 10% off the top, right? As a form of my tithe, because I believe the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. And anything we give, we're giving to God. We are actually right now, we are starting our own foundation, right? For that reason, because I think about that, even that Patti LaBelle song, when you've been blessed, you pass it on. And so to hear how you have made this your mission inside of your entrepreneurial work and pursuits, and y'all, Dan didn't tell you this, but I'll tell you, and hopefully he won't mind. I'll ask for forgiveness if he does. He's a multi-million-dollar CEO and a multi-millionaire, right? So he didn't just wake up with this pipe dream, quote unquote, to be a philanthropist. He's been working inside of a business that affords him the opportunity to be able to give back in a various amount of ways, right? Some of it is financially. And you talked about creating a philanthropy incubator. And some of it is through his time, right? Like, even at the time of us having this conversation, y'all, he's in Dubai. I don't know. Do you still live in Cabo?
I'm there.
Technically.
But like, my time is split in a couple of places.
Right. He's everywhere. Everywhere. And so this construct is really cool, because what I think I'd love to explore for our listeners, I'm really big into you have to see it in order to see it, to experience it. And I think you are going to be a really great example and case study of what it looks like to grow your business to multiple millions, and then to decide to pivot to do some of the work that you really know you were called to do, whereas you're allowing your business to be the vehicle, which I think was God's original intention, right? The intention is the entrepreneurship is the wealth vehicle so that we can continue to enrich the earth. And so to walk us through the journey of the point at which getting to the money milestones, whatever you're comfortable in sharing, were this other side of it began to go from that whisper to that shout, because now I see more and more the way you're showing up. You've always been benevolent. You have always overgiven and overserved and over-delivered. That's just who you are. But something has flipped.
Do you know what it was? So first and foremost, I want to share a belief that I hold, and it's one when I don't really do much on the coaching side, but when I have done that, obviously the business started off with more with coaching in order to get the rhythm to where we could kind of pivot that into what it does now. But I talk about pre-tithing. I pre-tithe. And so what I actually, they talk a lot about gratitude and how gratitude pulls in the experience because it puts you in the vibrational frequency. Well, one of the ways that I display gratitude is I look for ways to start pre-tithing for my next leap in my life and business. And so what I do is, first and foremost, I don't make the leaps bigger than I believe are possible, but I make them just beyond that. So I've tended to go, so if we look at this business, this particular business, my coaching business, Dream with Dan, right? That started in 2018. I didn't really start as a business. It kind of, we're speaking in the green room before, it kind of just moved into this thing where it started to do really well. But my first thing was, let me just get to 6 figures for the year, right? And then when I was able to do that, it was, okay, let's get to 6 figures for the quarter, right? And then it's, let me get to 6 figures for the month. And then it's, let me get to 6 figures for the week, right? And now we're looking at, we've had a couple of them, but we want to have more of those consistent 6-figure days until that becomes a normalized thing as well. But when I'm looking at that next step, whatever that period is, I start actually tithing ahead into that next step.
Nice.
So,
that's so good.
When I'm looking at getting 6 figures a month, I'm like, all right, well, I need to start giving away 10,000 a month now, right? And so when we're looking at the quarter, so I need to give away like 10K this quarter, like that needs to happen now. And then you kind of just start doing that. And it's a lot easier to manage. And because it's a lot easier to manage, there's less resistance to be able to pull it off. And then you can make the thing happen. But start moving in that regularity and watch miracles happen. It's really strange what happens when you pre-tithe.
I like that. And just to make sure everybody's on the same page, I think we all know what tithing means, right? That it's a tenth. So for you and your practice, where does your tithe go?
I go grassroots projects. Like I said, my family's foundation, we go into grassroots stuff. So, or if it's not grassroots and it's a bigger organization. So as you know, through Mavericks, I'm connected in with the Virgin Unite charity, but Sir Richard covers all of the running costs of Virgin Unite out of pocket. So any money that gets donated to Virgin Unite actually go to the projects that they do. And they've also got a local project in the BVI called BVI Unite. So projects like larger charities where money's going directly, I'll do. But I really do prefer, like my friend Adrian's got a really great initiative he's doing with homeless people in East London. So we support that. We're actually financing here a conversion of a space that's going to be serving for homeless people in cold weather. So we're putting money into that. My sister runs a soup kitchen. We do. That's the kind of thing that I love to do. Yeah. And then on a wider scale, like I mentioned, entrepreneurial philanthropy, I put money into that. So what that is in real terms is I invest into a local community. We create infrastructure that allows them to generate income. And then we support and train them to create ongoing flows of income for that. And we don't take anything out. We leave it in and allow that to grow. And I've been doing that since 2012.
I love all of that. I've got like chills all over my body right now. I too have had times where I pre-tithe. And I love that because I do believe tithing is important, right? And for me, it's not a religious thing. It is a spiritual principle thing, right? If you want to unlock ultimate abundance, then you have got to give freely, right? And I know the Bible does say God loves a cheerful giver. And I even love, like, similarly, I do sometimes tithe to church and spiritual mentors and things of that nature. But I also choose causes and communities that I think that need to be supported because, I used to go to a really big church. And I remember one time God being like, they don't need your tithe. This little soup kitchen over here, they need your money. Right. And so I love that spreading it around. And it sounds like to me, and clarify if I'm not right, that you align the causes with your values and then make a commitment to serve them for, whatever time frame. Yeah. And how has that, now you said miracles happen. So can you give us some practical of how you've seen that insistence on pre-tithing actually show up in the results that you experience in your business?
So one of my mantras is the more I spend, the more I make. That's one of my mantras. And so I've got little things like, and giving isn't just, and this is the thing, tithing is about letting it out. But for me, tithing is letting it go out specifically, intentionally to give to others, to pass it forward on to others. But if you're going to tithe, but you're still going to be tight-fisted, and tight butt cheeked about money in other places, it's not going to work. There has to be a general energy of understanding that I'm a steward for this energy for the time that it's with me, and it's with me to pass it on. I'm not trying to hold on to it, right? So even my saving, I don't save, I invest, but I invest it in a way that it's going to be growing and moving and supporting and creating jobs for people, creating income. Like, that's what I think it's all about. And I found that any time that I start to feel something get a little bit stuck with me in any way, shape or form, like we had something last week on the thing I was speaking to about earlier, and I just went shopping. I went and got some nice things that I wanted to get, right? And
opened it up.
Whenever I start to feel stuck energy in any way in my life, in my health, in my workouts, in my finances, relationships, whenever I start to feel that, I go and look, have I made any commitments to give that I haven't met yet? Or are there any commitments outstanding that I can give and pour into, even over and above my tithing? And it always moves the energy.
Oh, that's so good. That's actually a perfect place to stop. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the role that expending, putting money out there does to break open these stuck and stagnant moments. We'll be right back. If you love the Move to Millions podcast and the Move to Millions book is blowing your mind, then you have got to join us for Move to Millions Live. All the details are waiting for you to secure your seat at movetomillionsevent.com. You're listening to the Move to Millions podcast. I am here today with Dan the Man. Oh my gosh, are you guys blown away as I am with this conversation right now? Like all the hairs on my arms, and I'm pretty hairy. I can thank my daddy for that. They're standing up on end at the thought of giving and leveraging the power of giving to get unstuck. That's what you said literally just before we took the break, Dan. So I want to hear you talk about that a little bit more, because I know somebody somewhere who's listening to this podcast is sitting in stagnant energy, right? We call the chaotic corridor between 250,000 and $1 million, the millions messy middle. I know somebody somewhere is stuck in that energy right now. And what I just heard you say is that in order to alleviate that energy and to get things to shift, they've got to go spend some money, put some money out there. Like, I feel like so many people are like resisting that because that sounds counterproductive and intuitive to everything. So can you break that down for us?
Yeah. So one of the principles that I speak about in my work is something called the flow funnel. And the flow funnel it's almost like a cross section of reality. And we've got pure energy. We've got how we feel about things, what we think about things, and the action that we take. And then that always leads to a result, right? So we've got mind over matter. We've got emotional context over thought, crime of passion, and so on and so forth. And then we've got programs and other such things, identity, that lead into our emotional state. Whenever you are having an outcome, that outcome is a byproduct of some kind of alignment through that flow funnel. So you've got an identity, you've got programs, you've got mental ideas about who and what you are, agreements that you hold about the way the world works that lead into an emotional state, that lead to a way of thinking, a way of acting, and then to a result. At a purely raw sense. If we want to go deeper into the spiritual side of things, there's more to it. But just to make sure everyone is included, if we just talk at a purely rudimental level, your habits lead to your outcomes. That comes from your thinking, that comes from your emotions, that's coming from your identity and everything behind it. So whenever there's an outcome, you can always backtrack it to one of these things, either a behavior, a way of thinking or believing, a way of feeling, an identity. Now, when someone says to me that they're stuck somewhere, it's not that they're stuck somewhere, it's that they're getting a result that matches who and what they are across these sections.
Oh, hold on. That was that was good. I need you to back the train up. Okay, say that one more time.
We're not stuck. We're getting a result that matches where we're at, like who and what we are. It's like when we did that, when we had the Simplicity 7 meeting and I took everyone through the exercise, we're looking at identifying what these pieces are. Like, okay, you say you want this thing, but does your identity accept that idea? Do you have an emotional context for that outcome? Do you have belief systems and general thinking that's matching that? Do you have actions, habits, and behaviors that matches it? If you don't, you're going to be where you are. I don't believe that self-sabotage is a thing. I don't believe that procrastination is a thing. And I don't think that failure is a thing. I think we successfully achieve something that's unfolding unconsciously. We're successfully failing to move into something that doesn't match where we're at right now because we haven't done the work to move into that level of being. We're successfully keeping ourselves safe where we are because that's what the mind does. It perfectly plays out the patterning of who and what we are. And that's why somebody's stuck between 250 and a million, because they haven't yet opened themselves up. And one of the ways that you can start to do that is by starting to claim. And so I'm doing my last ever Alchemy of Abundance in-person event in April of this year. And one of the things that I'm going to be doing is this kind of advanced, like expanded model on what I've been teaching over the last couple of years. We've been doing this model. And that's when you look at your life, you are seeing the byproduct of the commitments that you have called in and commit and stuck with.
Dan, I want to smack you. I want to smack you.
What,
oh my God. Okay. That is so, I mean, you said so much and I don't even want to infiltrate what you said, but I just need you to repeat that piece right there again. One more time.
We are receiving the byproducts of everything that we've committed to doing and being. And the thing that we lose sight of is that commitment is getting made on a consistent basis over the course of our day. When you say to yourself, I'm not going to buy that thing because it's too much, you've committed to an agreement, right? That you're not going to get. You're not going to give people their worth that they've claimed. How can you then expect that you're not going to receive the mirror of that, of people saying to you, I'm not going to give that person 40,000. They're not worth 40,000. They're worth 20,000.
Yeah.
So we're going out there trying to get from the world what we're not ready to put out.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I know this. I hear this all the time. I have even said it.
Mm-hmm.
But for me right now, hearing you say this based on where I am mm-hmm. like, oh my gosh, that's it. Like, and I hope that those of you who are listening to this episode are saying the same thing. Like, mm-hmm. you are receiving the byproduct of everything you've committed to. I mean, I know it, but I don't know. Then you just make it, maybe it's the accent. I don't know. But it's like, oh my gosh, light bulbs going off. And if I can just take it a step further,
sure.
The way that we flip it to start receiving what we what we consciously desire, right? Because it's our conscious mind bumping up against our unconscious Indeed. Or subconscious mind, mm-hmm, right? Mm-hmm. So consciously, we're saying, I want $1 million company, but subconsciously, we don't yet believe that we deserve it. And so we're not acting like it. We're not showing up like it. We're not taking the actions that are required in order to call that in.
Yeah.
Dan, you just changed my life. Like, this is not for me, but you just changed my life because of what I've been sitting with, grappling with mm-hmm. right now. Yeah, I just want to say thank you. I'm not getting into it now on the podcast. You nosy people, you don't need to know what I'm talking about. But thank you.
Yeah, it's commitments. And the thing is that we're going to get what we consistently commit to over a period of time. And so going back to what we're talking about tithing, I'm committed to putting out. And because I'm committed to putting out, I'm demonstrating a commitment to living in a reality where money flows. And so money flows to me.
Yes.
Right.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for coming out. God bless. Good night. We done. Like, we could drop the mic. We won't drop the mic right there, but we absolutely could.
But that's it.
Yes.
Like, and it's like, people look at me and they're like, why do you still go to programs? Like, I'm doing a 6-month program. A friend of mine, Jackie, she's in JVMM 7. Mm-hmm. I love her work. She's awesome. She's doing a program. I signed up for the program. She's like, mm-hmm. You signed up for my program? I'm like, I signed up for your program. I do not believe that there is a single pocket that God can't give me a lesson or give me a gift or a blessing. Yeah. Like, one of my Danisms that I live by is when you allow God to speak to you through anything, God will speak to you through everything. And so I continue to do that. I continue to be a humble learner, right? Not coming in as Mr. Daddy Big Socks, but coming in as, okay, what can I learn? What can I receive from this? Right. And also, how can I pour into the other people who are taking part in the program also? Not as Johnny Big Socks, but as just someone that's a part of that community or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing with spending. I went into, all right, we're going to go a little bit thing. So it's Valentine's Day today. Your boy's not really in that Valentine's situation in his life right now. So I went and did a little retail therapy, went into Dior, picked up the thing. I don't ask them what the thing costs. I just pick up the thing and pay for it.
Right.
Like, if I want it, I pick it up and pay for it. right? Oh, how much is it? Oh, can I get a discount? I would never ask for a discount.
You shouldn't be in Dior. Like I talked about that on last week's episode or recent episode of the podcast about, like, you don't go to Bergdorf's as an example. They don't even have any prices. So you can't walk in there and be like, how much is this? And if you have to ask how much it is, you're not in the right place. And based on what I'm hearing you say today, and I completely agree with, you're making a commitment to stay where you are instead of moving into where you desire to be. Because the fact of the matter is, if I'm hearing you right, Dan, is it don't matter what it costs. If you want it, you need to get it so you keep your vibration high.
Now, I want to caution, I don't want anyone going out and coming back and saying, oh, I'm bankrupt, I spent the rent money to go and get the thing, right? There are ways you can step into that without bankrupting yourself. I always advocate people to do a VIP day, right? So what you do is you take 10% of what you're earning, whatever you save, take the same amount and put it into a play jar. T. Harv Eker taught this principle about the play jar. And then whether it's once a week or whether it's once a month, you go out and you splurge that pot of money.
Yeah, I love it.
Even if you go to the best hotel in your city and just go to the bar and order the completely overpriced cocktail or whatever the thing is, or overpriced cup of tea and cake, do it, but do it like you own the place. You might not be able to get the full suit right now, but even if you go and get yourself a little tailored shirt and be in that experience of having the shirt made for you, like, now pretty much there's a couple of brands that do fit me like they're tailored, but for mostly you'll see that I wear for my shirts, they're tailored, right? When I was coming up with this business, I mean, when I left my old business, I sold off my watches and so on and so forth to capitalize me going off to go and do what I was doing, to bolster up my savings. But, you know, I didn't put a watch on my wrist unless it was a minimum standard watch. That's it. I don't fly anywhere minimum business. Like, if it's not business, if you don't have business on your route, I'm not going to go there.
I mean, can we just talk about that for a little while? Because I mean, I'm the same way. Like, I mean, I had a traumatic experience that made me that way. But I was like, I am flying first class. Like, I was on a Southwest flight, which, you know, no disrespect to Southwest, but I am not a Southwest girl anymore. And I wasn't paying attention. I ended up in the C zone, and I was sandwiched between two really large individuals. So big, in fact, that the only way that I could breathe on that flight was if I had my head up against the seat in front of me. And I was like, that is the last time in life I am flying this way. Like, I'm not getting on a plane if I can't fly first class. Like, yeah, I can't get, sometimes they have business class, but yeah, I'm with you entirely. And what I feel like I'm hearing you say, to make this practical for our listeners, it's about getting really clear about what you desire for your life and your life experience. And then determining the commitments that are going to show you living that desire out in every area of your life, because it is the living of it, the action of it, that is accelerating your energy and your vibration so that you can bring more of it in.
100%. And the commitment doesn't have like conditions to it. Like, that's not commitment.
That's good.
There's no conditions. And sometimes it's not even that practical. Like, you know, if I'm going to be on a flight for 4 hours and it's like 3 times the price. So I always go for the highest ticket that I can get on the flight, right? And, you know, I'm in the Middle East right now. And when I'm dotting back and forth from here, it's on Emirates. Emirates business class is the equivalent of everyone else's first class.
Listen, Emirates will make you change your whole situation. Yeah, no, it's
did I send you the videos from the thing? Like,
when we went to Dubai, we flew Emirates. Like,
you know what I'm talking about.
I do.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Their first class will change your entire thing.
Your whole life. Exposure creates expansion. Like, I literally just said that, being exposed to a new reality, or to make it about what Dan and I are talking about today, being exposed to your true, honest, authentic desires is what's going to expand the capacity for that to come into your life experience.
Because we can't get anything that we're not. And this is the thing that, you know, people talk about the fake it till you make it. I don't believe fake it till you make it. I say act because, not act as if. Act because good. My proclamation, my declaration has commanded reality to bend to this experience versus me pretending is going to make it maybe show up. Because what happens is the people that did fake it till they make it, they faked it until they made themselves it so that they could have the thing.
Right. And that's the wrong way. That's the model of lack, not the model of abundance.
Versus, oh, Like I'm stepping up, I'm making these commitments, knowing that these commitments being made are going to lead to me receiving the outcome that I'm stepping into. Ergo, I'm claiming it, I'm not feigning it. But there's no like conditions on this. And what I see often is people come into this whole thing of, oh, I'll do it, but I'm going to do it under these circumstances, but like, just get really clear. And do you know what? Sometimes the thing I was going to put an order in for a Lamborghini Urus. And I was like, I don't actually want that car. Like, I've been doing this whole thing of examining my desires at the moment. I was like, I don't actually want that car. And so we're not talking about running around making commitments on what your ego says that you should have or what other people say you should have. It's like getting really, really clear. What's lighting me up? What's bringing me joy? What do I desire to experience, to be a part of? And then committing to that fully with no conditions, no if this, if that, whatever. Just go for it. And it will be uncomfortable. There'll be times when you'll be tested about whether you're really going to do it, right? Like I said, sometimes it's not even going to be that practical. It doesn't matter. Step into the expansion that awaits you on the other side of that commitment.
Oh, Dan, that is so good. Okay, we got to take another break, y'all. We'll be right back. So good. Are you ready for Move to Millions Live 2024? Well, registration is now open. It is going down May 22nd through the 24th, just outside of Washington, D.C. You have to be there if you have millions on your mind. If you think the book was something, wait until you get into proximity to your next level. The conversations, the clarity, the collaborations, and the community that is going to get you to and beyond the $1 million mark is waiting for you now. Go grab your seat at movetomillionsevent.com. You're listening. And look, I can't even get my words out right. Dan is over here just changing our lives. Are you guys feeling this? Welcome back to the Move to Millions podcast. I was trying to catch my breath during the break. It just wasn't long enough. Oh my gosh, Dan. Like, first of all, you are breaking this thing all the way down. And I love it. And it's such a great, this is why I love talking to you. Like, Dan is my friend in real life. We get on the phone every once in a while. Like, every time I talk to you, you raise my vibration. Like, this is why you need to spend time with people who know stuff and that are unselfish about sharing that stuff. That's probably the thing I love the most about you, is that you really do live this. Like, you are so unselfish and so abundant. Like, that's just who you are. And it brings me joy to be in your presence. I'm so excited I'm able to share you with our listeners so that they can follow you. Now, you mentioned before, and you kind of mentioned it flippantly, you're doing your last ever Alchemy of Abundance live event. Yeah. I don't even normally do this on the podcast, Dan, but I want you to just talk about that for a few minutes, because I feel like there's some people who need to be there.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, well, Alchemy of Abundance, I take people through a 7-step model that kind of really gets them to apply these principles to a particular thing that they want to create over a 3-day period. We do it down in Cabo. We've kept it really reasonably priced over the past couple of years that we've been doing it. It actually emerged from, I've done retreats since 2019. 2019. I always kept the retreats really reasonably priced as well, because I wanted them to be accessible, but I always kept like 7 or 8 people. I wouldn't ever have any more than that. With COVID, it became very difficult because I can't plan around people coming, because planes get canceled, people get stuck in the country or whatever. But obviously I'm, been based in Mexico for all this time, and Mexico is more of an open country. So we had flexibility. And so we started looking at, well, how can I deliver something, not like as an enrollment event, literally just an event, just to serve, that I have the flexibility that whoever comes, we have 20 people, we have 50 people, we have 100 people, can do the same thing. So we struck a really great relationship with a particular hotel group. We've got great contacts with them. And so we get the room, but we can upgrade it. We can bring it down on the size. We get a little room block from them. It's an area where there are other hotels as well, so people can find their own way, and Airbnb. But we take them through the 7-step model. And the thing that is, it's not just me spouting stuff. We actually going through each step. Okay, this is what the step is. This is how we apply it. I have them take action. There's one of the steps that we look at is, what's standing in the way. And I say, you've got an hour. Go into page you want now. Go and drop the thing now.
Wow.
Like, and they have to do it in pairs. So someone's holding them accountable to end that relationship, to cancel the thing, to let go of the thing, to stop doing the thing. And we have them do that over 3 days. And it's something really beautiful. But, you know, making some pivots now in terms of how I want to serve in the long term. And so I want to take some time out to really sit with what I want to do. But we're doing this the last one. We're recording it so it can be a bit more evergreen for people to be able to watch it potentially in the future. The book's probably going to unfold from this particular one. It always evolves based on what I've been learning and doing for my own personal growth as well. And we've had some really big shifts for me personally that I've seen. And so we're bringing those into this event, ended it with a nice bang, and then we'll see what we're doing for 2024.
Nice. I love that. I love that. And we'll make sure that we put all the details in the show notes so people can get it. And I'll also make sure that we run this episode in enough time for if people want to attempt to be there, they'll be able to do so. Because I feel like there are so many people who need to be broken free of the commitments they've been making unconsciously, and they need to make some new commitments consciously that are going to actually walk them into what it is that they desire for the next level of their life. I think that's, oh my gosh, that's so powerful. I really meant it when I said it. Every time I talk to you, you just open up the scope a little bit more. How did you even know all of the things that you know? And I know we've talked about this. This is for the listeners. Like, walk us through the journey of how you've become so conscious and so awake to how to experience abundance in every area of your life so that you never have to say things like, I can't afford that, or that's not for me, or any of the questions that I think many of us, especially those who look like us, Dan, probably find ourselves saying over ourselves at some point in time. Like, how did that cease to be the reality for you to make you a thought leader in this space and to open up an opportunity for people to really learn through your podcast, through your books and your programs and the things that you put out into the world? How did you get here?
I would say I had a happy chance stance of particular things that happened. So, for example, my parents really instilled about education in me. My parents are African immigrants. They immigrated from Zimbabwe in the 70s to the UK. They didn't go as economic immigrants. My dad wanted to get like his master's and his PhD in the UK. His PhD, he already had his master's.
If you love the Move to Millions podcast, you are going to go crazy for Move to Millions, the proven framework to become $1 million CEO with grace and ease instead of hustle and grind. This brand new book is changing lives already. With thousands of copies sold, you have got to get yours. It must be in your professional library if you are a $1 million CEO or you've got millions on your mind. Get your copy and our bonuses today at movetomillionsbook.com.
To give context of my dad, in his 40s, he got bored and went and did a law degree and trained as a lawyer because he just got bored. It's like he already had his PhD, 2 masters and a PhD, and he just went off to go and do that. He's in his late 70s. He's got no signs of slowing down. They retired back to Zimbabwe, both my parents. Now he's like special advisor to this minister or whatever, and doing all this. So I kind of had that whole thing about studying and reading. And so reading was a thing that I've always been into. And so I started reading books like this as a teenager. I read Think and Grow Rich when I was 16 years old.
Oh, wow. How did you get through Think and Grow Rich at 16?
So I've always been about it. You know, I never had any intention of really having a job. For a while, I thought I'd be an investment banker. That kind of fell by the wayside, and I fell footlong into entrepreneurship. I've had 2 jobs in my life. I worked in a cinema when I was a teenager, and I worked in a call center in my 20s when I was just like, you know, raising some capital to go and do something else. And that was it. To make some bills were covered. So I've always kind of been the maverick out there in the trenches, kind of making it happen. I also feel that I'm really blessed that I've got Asperger's. For those of you who don't know, Asperger's, I'm on the autistic spectrum. The key difference, I think, that makes people understand the difference between someone who's purely autistic and someone who has Asperger's, I have the ability to communicate my thoughts with you, whereas someone who's more deeply autistic can't communicate, even though their brain's doing amazing things, right? And so the way that my brain is wired means that I can take this information, I can digest it and process it a little differently because my brain is literally physically wired to do so differently. I can't function unless things are very clean, clear, and stepped. And that's why I feel when I go to communicate something that I've read, I communicate it in the way that my brain works is really clear and succinct. And that's why more complicated ideas that I share with people tend to have that level of clarity to it. But it's really been, I've been in the trenches studying, reading, learning, applying. I've had really big hits in my life. I've had, lost everything twice before I was 23. I've been into the dark pits. But ultimately, the thing that really changed me to be the person I am is being consistent in the inputs that I've had. Now, my inputs consistently were of a certain type for a while because I had a darker intention. For those, you want to read my story, you can find out more about it on the website. But ultimately, I've been really, really consistent. And now that I'm aware of that, I am ruthless in terms of what I allow into my environment. Like stanky attitudes, no. Stanky people, no. Like some people want to give people multiple chances to be stinky. No. You get a shot and a half with me. And the half is just for me to make sure I'm not being rude or like that I'm wrong. Because I'm not even the kind of person that will, that person did this, so I'm cutting them out of my life. I'm like, guess that wasn't part of God's plan for me. And I just keep it moving. Look, I don't do that. But people, places, and things that don't keep me at an elevated frequency, they don't get to be a part of my life. And so I'm committed to a life that reflects these things. Therefore, the inputs that follow on from that, the experiences that reinforces that. Not to say that I don't have challenges, not to say that things don't go awry from time to time, but I firmly believe that my world is taking care of me. Everything's going according to plan. Things are working out beautifully and will continue to do so with ease, even if I don't see them from my limited perspective, and keeping my environment supporting me being able to meet those challenges from a high place. That's it.
Yeah, that is so good. And I love all of it, because I think first watching your parents be an example of what it means to thrive without having to strive, right? Because I think that that's the big difference between the two. That's amazing. And many of us, we don't have that story, right? Like we can't point to our parents as the indication that we needed to start looking at things differently. And so we would have to rely on books and learnings in the various places and ways, and podcasts like this to be able to begin to consider a different reality and then figure out the steps that we need to take to begin to walk into that. So as always, I salute and celebrate you, because I think that you're a genius and you live it. You have not theorized any of it. It's the way you live every single day. And it is the reason why you enjoy the success that you enjoy. And no matter what it is that you do, success will overtake you, because that is who you are. That's who you've decided. That's what you've committed to. I think that's amazing. And
I think everyone needs to, I really want whoever's listening to this to really understand that there will be a death of who you are to step into who you're going to be. Your current identity will fight back, right? You will have stories, you'll have people coming to reinforce the narratives that are keeping you in that smaller place. But go back to those commitments. Like, go back to that vision, that dream, go back to that thing that fires you up, and allow that to be the thing that keeps you on track when you will inevitably fall off track, because none of us are switching all the time. I have my crap days.
Right.
But guess what? I understand. I'm having a crap day today. Okay. Maybe that's the day I'm going to go for a walk, or maybe that's the day I'm going to go and do some shopping, or go and take a flight, or whatever I'm going to do, to get, not to pretend that I'm not having the bad day, but to give me the space to approach the bad day from an elevated place, rather than victimhood, defeatism, all of the things. The game that we're playing, this game of entrepreneurship and business, it's not a straightforward game.
No, it's not.
It's not. Like, if you want an easy life, go and get a job in McDonald's. And I don't mean any disrespect by that, but go and get the job. Like, if you want to live your life basically, you're going to have a basic life. But it's about resourcing yourself to be able to match the demands that are going to be called of you in order to live at that elevated place. But there's beauty on the other side of it. I wouldn't live my life differently.
I know you love the Move to Millions podcast. I know you can't wait every single week for me to drop a new episode. You know what that tells me? It tells me that you're also going to love my brand new book, Move to Millions, the proven framework to become a $1 million CEO with grace and ease instead of hustle and grind. Listen to me. Everything you need to know to make millions of dollars without losing your shirt, your sanity, or anything that's important to you in the process is in this powerful book. It takes what you are experiencing each week on the podcast to the absolute next level. Go now to movetomillionsbook.com to grab your copy. Yeah, I agree. I think that's the perfect place to just put a pin in this amazing conversation. I knew we would come up with something really good. You guys, just before we started recording, I was like, what are we going to talk about? So this was awesome and amazing. I always as you know, at the end of the podcast, I always ask my 3 closing questions, just because I think it kind of grounds whatever it is that we talked about. The first question, of course, is what is your favorite quote? And this is the quote that when you're having one of those snotty days, kind of whips you right back into shape and reminds you of the commitments that you've made to be excellence, to be abundance.
I think it's the one that I shared earlier. My world is taking care of me. Everything's going according to plan. Things are working out beautifully and will continue to do so with ease. All too often, I think we lose sight of the fact that as humans, we have a very limited perspective on what reality is doing. We can't see the pieces that God's moving behind us. And it's not for us to see those, right? It's for us to just keep drawing nigh to God, for God to draw nigh to us with those blessings that are waiting for us. And so anytime that I start to lose sight of something going sideways, I fall into that.
That's good. Such a great reminder. And then what's one book that has made a difference as you've moved your business to and beyond the $1 million mark?
Oh, in terms of the $1 million mark, I would say The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles is a really, really good one, only because it really balances that dance between the spiritual approach and getting it done.
Yeah.
Some people misquote it and they think think happy thoughts and everything's going to happen. But no, he talks about go and create value, go and do the thing, but do it from a place of love, purpose, and service. And I also love the way that he addresses the fact that there are people that do scumminess and get rich, but what kind of life do they have?
Yeah.
And so as we go out there and seek to create and have and be more, having that approach, I think, is a really powerful way to approach value creation in the world.
Yeah, I agree. Wattles' book is one of my favorites too. And then the last one is, what is the tool that you swear by that makes a difference as you continue to elevate, grow your businesses, grow your philanthropy, etc.?
A tool is in something that I use?
However you want to define tool. We've had people to say their calendar. We've had people to say their mindset. We've had people. So however you want to define it.
I say silence. Regular time of silence.
That's good. Oh, that is so good. Thank you so much for being here, Dan. I know every single person who is under the sound of our voices right now, they just got a big elevation in their life because you share selflessly and you're committed to helping other people experience the abundance that you've tapped into and live so flawlessly. So I just want to say thank you for that.
Thank you for having me. And anyone who is coming by this episode because they listened when I said, you need to listen to this episode with my friend, make sure that you subscribe and like and share it with someone as well, because Darnyelle's doing some awesome stuff in the world too.
Thank you so much. We'll see you guys next time. Was it good for you? Oh my gosh, y'all, it was so good for me. I could barely interview him. And y'all know me, I normally talk a lot more doing the interviews, but I could barely interview him because I was taking notes. I was getting what I need for where I am right now in my life. I was being reminded of what I know, but we often forget, right? You ever realize or stumble upon something that you knew once upon a time, but you somehow forgot about it? Yeah, that's the kind of moment I was happening while Jan was changing your life and mine. So many amazing nuggets that came out of this conversation. I'm just going to highlight a couple because you just heard the episode, right? One of my first favorites was talking about pre-tithing, tithing before the leap. If you want to get to $100,000 months, you need to start giving away $10,000 a month, period, point blank. Tithing before. And this is, as you remember him saying, over and above his regular tithe. So just keep that in mind. Oh gosh, I could just go all day. I should have had these queued up, the other things that I wanted to make sure. There will be a death of who you are to step into who you desire to be. Should I repeat that one more time for those in the back? There will be a death of who you are to step into who you desire to be. I even loved when he talked about the play jar, where you take 10% and you put it in this jar for your rainy days, for those moments when you need to be in the energy of money flowing, right? Because money needs to move. It's an energy. It should always be moving. And if it's stuck and stagnant for you, it's because you're not doing the thing, right? or as Dan talked about throughout this entire conversation, you will have whatever you're committed to without even realizing it. He said, we are receiving the byproduct of everything we've committed to. I hope that snatched your edges like it snatched mine. He said, I don't like fake it until you make it. I prefer act because not act as if. That's so good. Because the commitments that you make are going to lead to the outcome that you want. And you've got to spend time examining your desires. And I love that he even put this out there for us as well, that commitments are uncomfortable. So we should not expect for it to be all sunshine and rainbows once we make a decision for those things that it is that we truly desire. I know this conversation really blessed you. And if you really want to experience abundance at the next level, you'll come back to it often. You'll earmark it because this will be a reminder of what it's going to take for you to be abundance personified. I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Thank you for joining me for the Move to Millions podcast. The way I see it, you deserve a business that generates millions. We'd love to have you join us in May at Move to Millions Live to help you prepare, plan, and position your company for the $1 million mark. Visit Move to Millions event now to grab your seat. If you enjoyed our time together, do yourself a favor, head on over to iTunes, subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. Until next time, remember, millions are your birthright, and to access them, you need only move. See you next time. Take care.